There are days when you feel like you're carrying more than you should, as if something inside you is always heavy, even when no one notices. You try to handle everything, fix everything, hold everything together. But deep down, you know you're tired. Have you ever wondered why? Even having faith, you still feel this way. What if the problem isn't the amount of things, but the way you're carrying them? In this video, you'll understand why this weight exists, where it really comes from, and something you may have never realized. There are burdens you were simply not created to carry alone. We're going to talk about what you've been trying to handle in silence, the constant effort to control everything, and how that has been draining your peace without you even noticing. If you've been feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or emotionally exhausted, this video will show you a new way to see all of this, lighter, clearer, and more truthful. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, you'll realize that you don't have to keep carrying this weight the way you have been. Before we continue, I want to be transparent with you. This content was developed with the help of artificial intelligence tools, organizing ideas, structure, and reflections to deliver a message that is clearer, deeper, and more transformative. But what you're about to hear is not about technology. It's about you, about what you've been feeling, and about something that maybe no one has been able to explain to you until now. Now let's understand what is really behind this weight you've been carrying. There is a kind of tiredness that doesn't go away when you sleep. It doesn't matter if your body rests. Your mind keeps running. Your heart still feels heavy. And there's a constant sense that something is still unfinished. You try to relax, but it feels like something is always pulling you back into your own thoughts, as if switching off were almost impossible. Maybe you've experienced this often. Moments when everything around you is quiet, but inside you there's a constant movement, thoughts that don't stop, situations being replayed, decisions being analyzed over and over again. And even when there is no immediate problem, your mind keeps working as if it's trying to prevent something that hasn't even happened yet. Over time, this stops being occasional and becomes a pattern. You may not know exactly when it started, but you can see the result. You're always overthinking, always trying to anticipate, always trying to understand everything. Your mind never fully rests. It only slows down for a moment, then quickly returns to the same rhythm. And this creates a constant sense of internal responsibility, as if somehow everything depends on you, as if you always need to stay alert, always prepared, always ready to fix something. Even when nothing is happening, you feel like you should be doing something. This way of functioning creates a silent kind of exhaustion, because it's not visible. No one looks at you and notices it, but inside you, there's an accumulation, a weight that keeps growing, built from constant thinking, attempts to control, and the need to keep everything under control all the time. And here's something important that many people never stop to consider. This may have become common, but it's not normal. It's not the natural state you were created to live in. There is a difference between being responsible and living overwhelmed. Jesus said something very direct in Matthew 11:28. "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." And pay close attention. He is not speaking to weak, careless, or irresponsible people. He is speaking to people who are doing too much, carrying too much, sustaining more than they were meant to. That completely changes how you see what you're feeling. Because maybe until now, you've interpreted this exhaustion as just part of life, or even as a sign that you need to try harder. But Jesus doesn't treat this weight as something you should learn to endure. He treats it as something that needs to be relieved. The problem is that many times you don't question the weight you're carrying. You just keep going. You keep thinking, keep trying to solve, keep trying to anticipate, as if this were simply part of your personality, as if there were no other way to live. But there is a difference between living with responsibility and living trying to sustain everything on your own. And that line is often crossed silently. Without realizing it, you begin to take on things that aren't yours, to carry worries that don't even exist yet, and to try to control outcomes that are completely outside your reach. And that's why, even when everything seems fine on the outside, you still feel tired. Because the weight doesn't only come from what's happening around you, it comes from what's happening within you. Your mind doesn't switch off because it believes it has to keep working. As if by stopping something might go wrong. As if rest were a risk and instead of a necessity. But this cycle has a cost. The more you try to anticipate, the more drained you become. The more you try to control, the more overwhelmed you feel. And little by little, this creates a constant sense of heaviness, even without a clear reason. You may not be able to explain exactly what's wrong, but you feel it. You feel that something inside you is heavy all the time, as if you were always responsible for something invisible, something that never ends, something that can never be fully resolved. And maybe the sentence that best defines this is, the problem isn't just what you're going through, it's what you're trying to carry on your own. Because there is a weight that comes from life, and there is a weight that comes from how you're dealing with it. And when those two mix, everything becomes heavier than it actually needs to be. When you begin to notice this, something shifts, because you stop looking only at external circumstances, and you start looking inward, at the way you've been thinking, reacting, and taking on responsibilities that may have never been yours. And that opens space for an essential question. If this weight isn't natural, then where is it really coming from? If you're honest with yourself, there is a constant need within you to try to keep everything under control. Not consciously all the time, but as an automatic pattern. You think, analyze, review, anticipate, as if, somehow, that would guarantee everything will work out. This need often comes from a good intention. You want to avoid problems, make the right decisions, protect what matters. But without realizing it, that care starts turning into control. And control begins to occupy a space that was never yours. You start to believe, even unconsciously, that if you don't think enough, something will go wrong. That if you don't anticipate, you'll be caught off guard. That if you're not alert all the time, things might fall apart. And then the mind enters a cycle of constant anticipation, scenarios being created, decisions being simulated, possibilities being analyzed. Not because all of this is necessary, but because you feel like you need to do it to feel safe. The problem is that this kind of safety is an illusion, because the more you try to control, the more things appear that are outside your control, and that only increases the need to think, anticipate, and try to secure the future. And this is exactly where anxiety begins to grow, not just because of circumstances, but because of the constant attempt to control what cannot be controlled. The Bible gives a very clear instruction in 1 Peter 5:7. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. And this reveals something profound. Anxiety is not just something to be managed, it is something to be released. But here's the conflict many people live with. They believe this, but they don't live it. There is faith in what they say, but control in how they act. They pray, they ask God, but shortly after, they mentally take back everything they said they were surrendering. And that creates a deep exhaustion, because in practice, you're still carrying everything on your own, even while believing that God is in control. It's like there's an internal division. One part trusts, and another part tries to guarantee. This behavior often goes unnoticed because it looks like responsibility. It looks like maturity. It looks like care. But at its root, it's a constant attempt to sustain what does not depend solely on you. And that creates a false sense of strength. You feel strong for handling everything, for thinking through everything, for trying to solve everything. But that strength has a cost. And that cost is your own emotional exhaustion. There is a silent phrase guiding this pattern. If I don't fix it, no one will. Even if you don't say it consciously, your actions reflect it. Your mind doesn't stop because it believes it has to stay active all the time. But this way of living places you in a position that is not yours. A place of total responsibility, total control, where everything seems to depend on you. And that is a place you were never meant to occupy. Because when you try to sustain everything on your own, you don't just become overwhelmed, you also move away from true dependence on God. Not because you stop believing, but because in practice, you keep trying to guarantee everything by yourself. And that's why, even with faith, you still feel anxious. Because your faith is not being lived as surrender, but as an addition to a control that is still active. The truth is, you are not tired only because of what you're facing. You are tired because of the position you've taken within your own mind. A position where everything needs to be thought through, solved, and secured by you. And that raises an important question. If you're trying to control everything, Are you carrying things that were never meant to be in your hands? At some point, without realizing it, you began to take on responsibilities that are not yours. Not intentionally, but as a result of this pattern of control that has been forming inside you. Little by little, you started trying to guarantee things that are beyond your reach, as if everything could be solved by thinking more, analyzing better, or trying to predict every detail. And this happens in a very subtle way. You don't wake up one day and decide to carry everything. You simply start getting more involved, worrying more, trying to anticipate more, until before you notice, you're already emotionally invested in things that were never meant to be your responsibility. This becomes even more evident when it comes to the future. You try to anticipate outcomes, imagine scenarios, predict consequences, build mental strategies for situations that don't even exist yet. And while doing that, you begin to carry emotionally something that hasn't even happened. It's as if you are living today the weight of something that belongs to tomorrow. And here's an important point. The mind does not clearly distinguish between what is real and what is intensely imagined. When you enter repetitive mental scenarios, your body reacts as if it were already happening. That's why the exhaustion feels real, even when the problem doesn't exist yet. You are not tired only from what you are living, but from what you are trying to anticipate. The Bible gives a very clear perspective on this in Ecclesiastes 3:11. He has made everything beautiful in its time. This means there is a right time for everything, including understanding, deciding, acting, and even worrying about certain things. But when you try to go beyond that timing, you step into a role that is not yours. You try to live today something that belongs to another moment. You try to solve now something that hasn't arrived yet. And that creates a completely unnecessary emotional burden. You begin to try to control the timing of things. You want everything to be resolved quickly, everything to become clear right away, all the answers to be available before the questions even fully appear in reality. And when that doesn't happen, your mind enters tension. But there is a crucial distinction that needs to be very clear. Responsibility is not the same as control. Responsibility is acting within what is in your reach. Control is trying to guarantee what was never in your hands. And many times you have been confusing these two. You take responsibility for the final outcome of things. You take responsibility for how people will behave, how they will react, when things will happen, and how situations will end. And by doing that, you begin to carry a weight you were never meant to sustain. This creates a constant sense of internal pressure, as if everything depends on you, as if you need to get everything right, predict everything, prevent everything, and any possibility of uncertainty or error becomes too uncomfortable to ignore. But maybe a simple question can bring deep clarity. Does this really depend on me? Or am I trying to guarantee something that is outside my control? When asked sincerely, that question separates what is truly yours from what you have simply assumed as if it were. Because there is, in fact, a part of life that depends on you, your decisions, your actions, your posture. But there is another part, and often a much larger one, that does not. And that part was never yours to carry. When you try to take on everything, you cross this invisible line, and you begin to live as if you are responsible for things that belong to God, to time, or to the natural unfolding of life. And this not only exhausts you, it places you in the wrong position within your own life. God did not call you to control outcomes. He called you to act responsibly within what is in your reach and trust Him with the rest. But as long as this distinction is not clear within you, you keep carrying. You keep trying to anticipate, trying to guarantee, trying to solve before the right time. And without realizing it, you keep accumulating a weight that was never yours. And perhaps the hardest part is this. Recognizing that you don't need to carry everything requires letting go of the sense of control. And for someone who has become used to trying to guarantee everything, that can feel uncomfortable, because letting go feels like losing control. But in reality, letting go is returning to the right place. It's stopping carrying what isn't yours, and beginning to live more lightly within what truly depends on you. And when this shift begins, something changes inside you as well. Your mind slows down, the weight begins to lift, and life stops feeling like a constant burden. If this message has been making sense to you so far, take this moment to subscribe to the channel. This content is designed to help you see what often goes unnoticed, bringing clarity, direction, and a lighter way of living your faith in your everyday life. And this leads to an even deeper realization. Maybe your exhaustion is not coming only from what you are carrying, but from the fact that, even realizing this, you still haven't truly let go. There is something you may have already noticed but never quite put into words. You try to relieve the weight. You try to rest. You try to let go. But deep down, nothing fully changes. The exhaustion keeps coming back. Your mind remains active. And that sense of overload never truly disappears. And this can be confusing, because from your perspective, you are doing what you're supposed to do. You pray, you seek God, you try to trust, yet you still feel heavy, as if something is still being held inside you. And the truth is, it is. Many times you are not just tired from what you are going through. You are tired because you haven't truly let go. You say you trust, you surrender in prayer, you try to rest, but shortly after your mind returns to the same place. It starts thinking again, reviewing, analyzing, trying to understand every detail, as if, deep down, there is still a need to guarantee the outcome. This is one of the most invisible patterns: partial surrender. You believe you've let go, but you're still holding on. You believe you've trusted, but you're still trying to control. You believe you've released it, but you keep revisiting it mentally. And this creates a deeply exhausting cycle, because you live in a constant internal conflict. One part of you wants to trust God, but another part cannot let go of control. And this conflict drains you more than any external circumstance. The Bible gives a very clear direction in Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. This is not just a beautiful spiritual idea. It is a practical instruction on how to break out of this cycle of exhaustion. Because not leaning on your own understanding means stopping the attempt to solve everything with your own mind. It means recognizing that thinking more will not give you control, and trying to understand everything will not bring you peace. But here is the difficult part. True trust requires letting go of something you've become used to, the constant mental control. And for many people, that feels uncomfortable. It feels like losing control, like becoming vulnerable, like not doing anything to make sure everything turns out right. But in reality, you were never in control to begin with. The only difference is that you've been trying to maintain that control mentally. And that's what's exhausting you. Maybe that's why you still feel tired. Not just because of what is happening in your life, but because internally, you are still trying to carry everything. You pray, but you keep thinking. You ask, but you keep analyzing. You say you've surrendered, but you keep trying to guarantee. And this pattern keeps the weight alive inside you. There's a sentence that captures this clearly. You are not tired only because of what you are facing. You are tired because you don't let go. Because letting go is not just an emotional decision. It's a practical one. It's interrupting the mental cycle that tries to control everything. It's recognizing when your mind enters that pattern of anticipation and consciously choosing not to keep feeding it. And that requires awareness, because this pattern is automatic. You don't notice when it starts, only when you're already exhausted. But the more you begin to observe it, the more clarity you gain. You start to notice when you're trying to control, when you're over-anticipating, when you're carrying more than you should. And in that moment, you have a choice: to keep feeding the cycle or to interrupt it. Because as long as you keep thinking, reviewing, trying to guarantee, the weight remains. But when you begin to let go, even if slowly, something inside you starts to shift. Your mind slows down, your body relaxes, your heart feels lighter, not because everything has been solved, but because you stopped trying to carry everything on your own. And maybe what's been missing in your life is not more effort, more control, or more trying, but exactly the opposite: learning how to truly let go. Because the weight does not decrease while you keep holding on. And when this becomes clear, you begin to understand that the problem is not only what you are facing, but how you have been dealing with it internally. And that opens space for something new, a different way of living, where you no longer need to handle everything on your own, but can learn to depend on something greater than yourself. Maybe for a long time, you've believed that being strong means handling everything. It means to handle pressure, solving problems, staying in control, and not letting anything fall apart. And in many ways, this was reinforced throughout your life by responsibilities, expectations, and situations that demanded maturity from you too early. You learned that you need to be steady, reliable, someone who can handle it. And without realizing it, you began to associate your worth with your ability to carry weight, as if being strong meant carrying more than everyone else, without complaining, without stopping, without showing exhaustion. But this pattern comes at a cost, because the more you try to be strong on your own, the heavier everything becomes. What once looked like responsibility slowly turns into overload, and what seemed like maturity gradually becomes silent exhaustion. And here is a truth that completely changes that perspective. Jesus never asked you to be strong enough to sustain everything. He never said you should handle everything alone. He never said you needed to anticipate everything, control everything, or guarantee every outcome. On the contrary, he points you in a different direction. In John 15:5, he says, "Apart from me, you can do nothing." This is not a limitation. It's a repositioning. It's as if he is saying, you were not created to live in self-sufficiency. You were created to live in connection, independence, in alignment. But this goes directly against what you've learned throughout your life. Because in the natural world, dependence is often seen as weakness, as inability, as something to be avoided at all costs. You were taught to figure things out, to manage, to handle it all. But in the spiritual sense, dependence is not weakness. It's proper alignment. When you try to sustain everything on your own, you are stepping into a place that was never meant for you. A place of total control, total responsibility, constant pressure to guarantee outcomes. And that place is too heavy for anyone to carry. And that's why you feel the way you do. Not because you are weak, but because you are trying to live in a position that requires more than you were created to carry. When you begin to understand this, something starts to reorganize inside you. You realize you don't need to be the source of everything. You don't need to be the control behind everything. You don't need to be the guarantee for everything. You can act without trying to sustain everything. You can decide without trying to control everything. You can move forward without carrying it all alone. But the problem is that many people understand this intellectually, yet continue to live as if everything still depends on them. They keep trying to guarantee. They keep anticipating. They keep carrying more than necessary. And that keeps the cycle of exhaustion active. Because trying to live self-sufficiently requires constant energy. It demands ongoing vigilance, continuous effort, and a mental load that never truly ends. It's as if your mind is always on, always trying to fix something, even when nothing is actually happening. But dependence changes that dynamic completely. When you understand that you don't need to sustain everything, something inside you begins to relax. Not because you abandon your responsibilities, but because you stop carrying what isn't yours. Lightness does not come from handling everything. It comes from trusting. And at first this can feel uncomfortable because trusting requires letting go of something that feels safe, the sense of control. Even if that control is only mental, it creates the illusion that you are in charge. But in reality, it is exactly this attempt to control that is exhausting you. Because the more you try to guarantee everything on your own, the more responsibility you feel. And the more responsibility you feel, the more weight you carry. And the more weight you carry, the more tired you become. And this cycle is not broken by more effort. It is broken by a shift in position. When you stop trying to be the source of everything and begin to live in dependence. This does not mean passivity. It does not mean giving up or stopping your actions. It simply means recognizing the limit between what is yours and what is not. It means doing what is within your reach and trusting the rest. And when this shift begins to happen, life changes its rhythm. Your mind slows down. The weight begins to lift. The internal pressure decreases, not because everything has been solved, but because you are no longer trying to carry everything on your own. And maybe this is the shift you needed to see today. You don't need to become stronger. You need to learn how to depend. And this leads us to something even more practical, because understanding this truth is only the beginning. Living it daily requires a conscious movement. Up to this point, you've started to notice something important. The weight you feel does not come only from your circumstances, but from how you are dealing with them. And maybe for the first time, you are seeing more clearly that you are carrying more than you should, not because you have to, but because you've gotten used to it. But understanding this alone does not change everything, because the pattern of thinking, anticipating, and trying to control is already rooted in you. It happens almost automatically. You don't notice when it starts. You only notice when you're already tired, when your mind is overloaded and your body is feeling the impact. So now the question is no longer theoretical, it becomes practical. How do you begin to change this in your daily life? The first step is simple, but extremely powerful. Name what is overwhelming you. Often, the weight feels vague. You feel tired, but you can't clearly identify why. And when you don't name it, your mind treats everything as urgent, as if everything carries the same level of importance. That's why taking a moment to clearly identify what is occupying your mind already begins to reduce the weight. When you name it, you organize it. And when you organize it, you remove the sense of internal chaos. The second step is to ask a question that changes everything. What in this actually depends on me? This question creates a separation your mind doesn't naturally make. Because without realizing it, you mix everything together. What is your responsibility and what is outside your control? So begin to divide it practically. What is action and what is outcome? What you can do and what you cannot guarantee. This distinction is essential, because until you separate these, you will keep taking on everything, and that keeps the weight active. The third step is to interrupt the cycle of repetitive thinking, because the weight does not come only from situations. It comes from mental repetition. You think, rethink, revisit, analyze, create new scenarios, and try to predict outcomes. And every time you do this, you reinforce the exhaustion. So when you notice you've entered that cycle, don't follow the thought all the way through. Don't try to mentally solve it in that moment. Interrupt it. You can do that by bringing your attention back to the present, shifting your focus, or simply recognizing, this does not need to be solved right now. At first, you will notice it too late, but over time, you will start to recognize it earlier, until you reach a point where you notice the pattern at its very beginning, before it consumes you. And that completely changes how your mind operates. The fourth step is to create conscious pauses. Not distractions like scrolling on your phone or avoiding your thoughts, but real pauses. Moments when you intentionally choose not to think about it. Moments when you allow your mind to slow down without the pressure to solve anything. Because often, your greatest exhaustion does not come from problems, but from the absence of pause. Your mind never stops, and a mind that never stops never recovers. The fifth step is to practice surrender consciously and repeatedly. Surrender is not a feeling that happens once. It is a decision that must be repeated. You will notice that even after choosing to trust, your mind will try to regain control. It will bring the thoughts back. It will try to reopen what you already surrendered. And in that moment, you don't need to fight the thought. You simply recognize it and let it go again, as many times as necessary. This is the process. And maybe this is one of the most important points. Don't expect this to happen automatically. This is a process of retraining your mind. And finally, there is something essential that supports all of this: learning to trust without needing to understand everything. Because one of the biggest sources of anxiety is the need for total clarity. You want to understand the why, the how, the when. You want all the answers before you can rest. But real trust begins exactly where understanding ends. It doesn't require control. It requires surrender. And when you begin to live this way, even imperfectly, something starts to change inside you. The weight decreases. Your mind slows down. The internal pressure fades. Not because life became perfect, but because you stopped carrying what was never yours. This is the turning point. And if this message has been making sense to you, subscribe to the channel. Here you'll find this kind of practical and spiritual guidance that helps you live with more clarity, less weight, and a faith that actually works in your daily life. And now that you understand how to apply this in practice, there is something even more important that needs to settle within you. Maybe throughout this video, you've started to notice something that wasn't so clear before. The exhaustion you feel is not just the result of life, circumstances, or responsibilities. There is something deeper happening inside you. You are not tired just because you have many things to deal with. You are tired because you've been trying to carry everything on your own. And when this realization begins to make sense, something shifts. Because you stop blaming yourself, stop placing excessive pressure on yourself, and begin to see that the problem was never a lack of strength. It was an excess of weight. Maybe you've spent a long time trying to be strong, trying to handle everything, trying to keep everything under control. And on the outside, maybe you even managed. But on the inside, it created an accumulation, a silent exhaustion, a constant feeling that it's never enough. But there is a truth you need to hold on to from now on. You were not created to live this way. The Bible brings a powerful statement in Isaiah 41:10. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. This is not just a message of encouragement. It is a reminder of position. You are not alone. Even when it feels like it, even when everything is unclear, even when your mind won't stop. God is not just watching, He is sustaining you. And that changes everything. Because if He sustains you, you don't have to carry everything. You can remain responsible without becoming overwhelmed. You can keep acting and without trying to control. You can keep moving forward without carrying the weight of the world in your hands. There is a lighter way to live. Not a life without challenges, but a life where you don't have to carry everything on your own. And that change begins from the inside out. It begins when you recognize what does not depend on you. When you choose to let go, even if gradually. When you understand that trusting is not losing control, it is returning to the right place. Maybe today what you need most is not more strength, not more effort, not trying to handle everything all over again. Maybe what you need is less weight, less need to control, less misplaced responsibility, less burden that was never yours, and more trust, more surrender, more lightness. If you want, do something simple right now, not as an obligation, but as a quiet gesture. Think of one specific thing that has been weighing on your mind, something you've been trying to solve, control, or anticipate, and for a moment, just recognize, this does not fully depend on me. And then, internally, let it go. You don't need perfect words, you don't need a complex ritual. Just let it go. Maybe you won't feel everything change immediately, but something begins in that moment. A small space of lightness, a small pause within you, and that's how change begins. Not all at once, but step by step. And little by little you begin to realize that life does not need to be carried the way you've been carrying it. If this video made sense to you, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who might also be carrying too much in silence. Sometimes a simple message can bring the clarity someone needs. And remember this as you go on with your day. Maybe what you need today is not more strength. It's less weight.